My dear brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to your heart, not just your mind. The message is simple, yet it carries the greatest power in all of existence. Believe in one God, not many gods, not idols made by human imagination, but one living, powerful, compassionate, eternal God, the creator of heaven and earth, the Father who knows your name, the one who holds your destiny in his hands. When you believe in one God, something happens deep inside your spirit. Your confusion ends. Your heart finds rest. Your soul finds direction. Because when there is only one God, there is only one truth, one power, and one source of peace. You no longer need to run after different things to satisfy your soul. You no longer need to be divided between fears and doubts. Believing in one God gives your life divine order. Many people today believe in money, success, or power. They make their careers their gods. They build altars in their hearts to material things that can never save them. But all these idols crumble when the storms of life come. Only one God stands forever. When you place your trust in him, even in the valley of death, you will not fear, because he is your shepherd, your provider, your healer, your strength. When you believe in one God, you don't live like the world lives. You live by faith, not by sight. You talk differently. You walk differently. You think differently. Because your confidence is not in people, not in circumstances, but in the Almighty who cannot fail. You can stand before giants and not be shaken. You can face sickness and still praise his name. You can go through trials and still have peace because you know who holds your life. To believe in one God is to walk in covenant with him. It's not just saying you believe, it's living as if you truly do. It means you depend on him for every breath, for every decision, for every need. It means you surrender your pride and say, God, not my will, but yours be done. That's where real power begins. When you stop fighting for control and let God be God, he will do what no man can do. The world will try to tell you that you need many paths to find truth, that all religions are the same, but truth cannot have two faces. Light and darkness cannot mix. There is one creator, one source of life, one name above all names. He is not an idea or an energy. He is personal, real, and alive. He loves you with an everlasting love. When you believe in one God, your prayers have authority. You don't speak empty words. You speak with the power of heaven behind you. Mountains move when faith meets the living God. The impossible becomes possible because you are no longer limited by your strength. You are connected to his. You begin to live not by the logic of men, but by the miracle of faith. Believing in one God doesn't mean life will be easy, but it means you will never be alone. The same God who created the stars walks with you through every storm. He wipes your tears, strengthens your heart, and turns your pain into purpose. He never sleeps. He never fails. He is always present, even when you cannot see him. And when you truly believe in one God, your life becomes a testimony. People look at you and see peace in chaos, hope in struggle, light in darkness. They begin to ask, what makes you different? And you can tell them, it's not me, it's the one who lives in me. The one true God who changes hearts, who heals the broken, who gives life to the lifeless. Believing in one God is not just a belief, it's a relationship. It's waking up every morning saying, God, I belong to you. It's walking every day knowing that no matter what happens, you are safe in His hands. The world may change, people may leave, but God remains faithful. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So, open your heart. Let your faith rise. Cast away every idol, every fear, every doubt. Believe in one God with all your heart, and you will see His power transform your life. He will take you where you could never go on your own. He will give you peace that money can't buy, and joy that no one can take away. Believe in one God, and let your life become the evidence that He is real. There is only one living, eternal God, the source of all truth, peace, and power. When we look at creation, we see the reflection of His greatness. The stars in the heavens, the waves of the ocean, the heartbeat of every living creature, all testify to the reality of one Creator who holds everything together. The order and beauty of the universe are not accidents. They are divine fingerprints of the one who spoke light into existence. He is not a distant deity, not an idea created by human minds, but a living, eternal presence that moves, speaks, and reigns beyond time. Every breath we take, every sunrise we witness, is evidence that He alone is the giver and sustainer of life. When we believe in one God, our faith finds a foundation that cannot be shaken. We are not tossed about by philosophies or false gods that rise and fall with generations. The one true God stands unchanging through all ages. His truth does not evolve, His power does not fade, His promises do not expire. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and everything in between belongs to Him. The more we understand His oneness, the more our hearts align with the eternal rhythm of heaven. We realize that all wisdom, all love, all strength flows from Him and Him alone. To know this one God is to know truth itself. In a world filled with opinions, confusion, and shifting values, there must be a standard that does not move. That standard is the nature of God. He defines righteousness, justice, and mercy. His word is the compass that points us toward life and light. When people forget the oneness of God, they begin to build idols, things that promise meaning but lead to emptiness. Whether it is wealth, fame, or human power, none of these can fill the void in the soul that only the Creator can satisfy. But when we return to the belief in one God, the soul finds peace because it reconnects with its source. The power of believing in one God is not only spiritual but deeply personal. It gives us identity. We are not accidents of nature or products of chance. We are created by divine design. The eternal God formed each of us with purpose, breathed life into our being, and placed destiny within our hearts. When we acknowledge Him as the only God, we step into alignment with that destiny. We begin to see ourselves not as weak or lost, but as children of the Almighty, made in His image, carrying His breath within us. This understanding gives strength in times of weakness and courage in moments of fear. When we call upon the one true God, we do not speak into emptiness. We speak to the one who listens, who responds, who acts in power. His authority reaches beyond human limitation. Kingdoms may rise and fall, but His kingdom endures forever. The same God who created the world by His word can transform any situation by His power. To believe in Him is to open the door to miracles, to invite His presence into every circumstance. His power is not just in the heavens, it is available to those who trust in His name. Believing in one God also unites us in love and purpose. It reminds us that every person is made by the same Creator. There are no divisions in His eyes, no boundaries that limit His love. When we acknowledge one God, we see humanity as one family created for harmony and compassion. Wars, hatred, and injustice arise when people forget the unity that flows from the oneness of God. But when hearts turn back to Him, peace begins to reign, because where God is honored, love prevails. The one living, eternal God is the anchor of every heart that believes. His truth does not depend on human understanding. His peace does not depend on circumstances, and His power is not limited by what we see. To believe in Him is to find the reason for existence, the strength to endure, and the light to guide every step. ChatGPT said believing in one God brings order, clarity, and strength to your life. When a person truly believes that there is only one God ruling over all creation, the confusion of the heart begins to settle. The noise of competing voices, desires, and fears starts to fade away, because faith in one God establishes a single point of focus. Life becomes centered on Him, and everything else begins to align in its rightful place. Where there once was chaos, divine order enters. The soul that was wandering between questions finds direction, and the heart that was divided between many loves finds peace in the one who deserves all devotion. Faith in one God simplifies what the world has complicated. When people chase after many sources of security, they become burdened by constant anxiety. They depend on people, money, and circumstances to feel safe, but those things are unstable. When one fails, they fall apart. But when you place your faith in one God, your foundation becomes unshakable. You are no longer a victim of change, because your faith rests on the unchanging one. You are not moved by what others say, because your ears are tuned to a higher voice. The heart anchored in one God is not tossed by fear or doubt. It stands firm like a mountain rooted in eternal truth. Believing in one God also brings clarity to your purpose. When you understand that your life comes from Him and belongs to Him, you stop wasting energy on meaningless pursuits. You start asking not, what do I want, but what does God want? And that question transforms everything. The confusion of self-centered living fades, replaced by the peace of divine direction. Every step becomes intentional. You begin to see how God weaves your experiences, your pain, and your victories into a greater purpose. You no longer walk blindly, you walk guided by His light. The clarity that comes from knowing one God makes life purposeful and free from the distractions of vanity. This belief also strengthens your spirit. The more you trust in one God, the stronger your inner man becomes. You realize that you are not fighting alone, that every battle you face has already been seen by Him who reigns over all. The presence of one God in your life fills you with supernatural courage. You begin to face problems not with panic, but with peace. You endure trials not with despair, but with confidence that your God is in control. That is the strength that the world cannot give. It's not found in physical might or emotional control. It's found in surrender, trusting the one true God who works all things for good. When you believe in one God, your priorities change. You no longer chase temporary pleasures because your heart desires eternal treasures. You no longer depend on people's approval because you live for the approval of God. That shift brings freedom. You stop comparing yourself with others because you understand that your value is defined by the one who created you, not by the opinions of the crowd. You walk with confidence, knowing that your worth, your peace, and your destiny are secure in Him. This kind of faith also brings order to relationships. When you believe in one God, you learn to love others through His love. You forgive because you have been forgiven. You serve because you know He first served you. Your relationships become healthier because they are no longer built on selfishness, but on divine purpose. The peace that comes from God begins to flow through you into others, healing broken connections and creating unity where there was once division. Believing in one God is not just a doctrine, it is a transformation of the entire life. It affects how you think, how you act, how you speak, and how you face the world. The confusion of doubt is replaced with the stability of faith. The weakness of fear is replaced with the strength of trust. The emptiness of worldly pursuits is replaced with the fullness of divine purpose. When one God rules your heart, everything else finds its place. You live with direction, walk with assurance, and stand firm in peace that no storm can shake. Faith in one God replaces fear, doubt, and dependence on worldly idols. When a person truly believes that there is one supreme, living God who reigns above everything, the spirit becomes free from the chains of fear that grip the human heart. Fear grows in the absence of trust. When you don't know who controls your future, you worry about everything. You fear loss, sickness, rejection, and failure. But when you understand that there is one God who holds your life in His hands, fear begins to disappear. You no longer depend on luck, fate, or human power. You know that the Creator of the universe is watching over you, guiding your steps and providing what you need. Fear loses its authority because faith takes its place. Doubt begins to fade when faith in one God becomes strong. Doubt is the voice that questions whether you are loved, whether you are seen, and whether you matter. It whispers lies that make you insecure and restless. But faith silences that voice. It reminds you that you are created by the one who makes no mistakes. When your heart believes in one God, it stands on solid ground. You do not have to question your worth, because your value is set by the one who formed you. You do not have to question your future, because it is in His perfect control. Faith doesn't mean you understand everything. It means you trust the one who does. It gives peace in uncertainty and confidence in confusion. Dependence on worldly idols breaks when faith takes root. People may not bow before carved images today, but they still serve idols. Idols of money, power, beauty, fame, relationships, and control. These are the things that demand attention, energy, and devotion. They promise happiness but bring exhaustion. They offer meaning but deliver emptiness. The moment you begin to rely on them for your identity, they enslave you. But when you turn your heart to the one true God, those false gods lose their grip. You no longer need the approval of people to feel valuable. You no longer depend on material things to feel secure. Faith in God sets you free from the bondage of depending on what can fade, break, or disappear. Faith in one God brings the strength to overcome fear because you begin to see through the eyes of eternity. What seems impossible to man becomes possible through the power of God. The mountains that once seemed unmovable now become opportunities for miracles. When storms come, you are not shaken because you know who is in the boat with you. Faith doesn't remove challenges, it changes how you face them. You begin to see problems as pathways to grow closer to God. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "God, what are you doing through me?" That shift destroys fear at its root, because now you live in divine perspective. When faith takes the place of doubt, your words begin to change. You stop speaking defeat and start speaking victory. You stop confessing worry and begin declaring hope. The way you see yourself changes. You start seeing yourself not as a victim, but as a vessel of God's power. The same faith that defeats fear also destroys pride, because it reminds you that everything you have and everything you are comes from Him. Faith gives strength, but keeps you humble, knowing that it is not your power but His. Unworldly idols collapse under the weight of faith because they cannot stand beside God. When faith grows, it exposes what is false. You begin to see how fragile human power is, how temporary wealth is, how shallow fame is. Faith lifts your eyes from the temporary to the eternal. It teaches you to depend not on what your hands can hold, but on what your heart can believe. When your trust is in one God, you no longer panic when things are taken away, because your source is not the world, it is Him. You learn to rest, even in lack, because your faith tells you that the one you believe in never fails. Faith in one God transforms your inner world. Fear becomes peace, doubt becomes assurance, and idols become dust. You start living with courage, walking with confidence, and speaking with authority. You are no longer controlled by circumstances, emotions, or human opinion. The power of faith liberates you from the false gods that compete for your heart. When you know there is one true God and you put your trust fully in Him, everything that once intimidated you loses its power. True belief is not words, it is surrender, obedience, and daily trust in God's will. Many people say they believe in God, but their lives tell another story. Real belief is not just an idea spoken with the lips. It is a reality lived through actions. It is easy to declare faith when everything is comfortable, but true belief is proven in moments of testing. When you truly believe in one God, you submit your will to His, even when you do not understand His ways. You stop fighting for control and begin to rest in His plan. Belief without surrender is only religion, but belief with surrender is relationship. It means letting go of your plans, your pride, and your desires, trusting that His will is higher, His timing is perfect, and His ways are always right. Surrender does not make you weak, it makes you strong, because you connect your life to divine power. The world teaches independence, but faith teaches dependence on God. When you surrender, you are saying, God, I can't do this alone. Lead me. That moment of surrender opens the door for miracles because it invites God to take his rightful place on the throne of your heart. Many lie burdened because they are still trying to manage what only God can handle. True belief says, I will trust you, even when I can't see the outcome. That trust becomes your shield in uncertainty and your peace in chaos. Obedience is another pillar of true belief. Believing in God but ignoring his word is empty faith. Real faith produces obedience that comes from love, not fear. You obey because you trust that God's commands are for your good. When he says forgive, you forgive even when it hurts. When he says give, you give even when it feels uncomfortable. When he says wait, you wait even when your heart wants to rush. Obedience aligns your life with God's wisdom and allows his blessings to flow freely. The more you obey, the more you understand his heart and the more peace you carry. Disobedience creates distance, but obedience draws you close to his presence. Daily trust is the rhythm of a life that truly believes. It's not a one-time decision, it's a daily walk. Each morning you choose to trust again. You choose to believe when the report looks bad, when doors close, when people leave. Daily trust is quiet but powerful. It's when you whisper, God, I don't know how, but I know you will. It's walking step by step, even when the path ahead isn't clear. It's choosing faith over worry, praise over complaint, and patience over panic. True belief doesn't crumble when life gets hard. It grows stronger because it knows who holds the future. True belief requires the heart to stay humble. It recognizes that faith is not about controlling God, but allowing him to control you. The one who believes deeply doesn't demand blessings. They trust that whatever God gives or withholds is guided by love. This humility is the soil where real faith grows. It keeps pride away and invites grace to flourish. The humble heart can hear God's whisper, while the proud heart only hears its own noise. Belief also requires endurance. It's easy to believe for a moment, but real belief lasts through seasons of silence. There are times when it feels like God is not speaking, when prayers seem unanswered, and the heart feels alone. But in those moments, belief becomes pure. You still pray, you still worship, you still trust. That kind of faith moves heaven because it is not based on feelings, it's based on conviction. It says, even if nothing changes, I will still believe. That is the faith that pleases God. True belief is a daily act of surrendering your plans, walking in obedience, and trusting his hand when you cannot see his face. It's not just in what you say, but in how you live, love, and endure. It transforms your thoughts, your choices, and your reactions. It shapes your entire being around the will of God, making your faith alive, powerful, and unshakable. When you believe in one God, your life becomes a testimony of his presence and power. People begin to see something different in you, not because you are trying to impress them, but because the light of God naturally shines through your life. The peace that others search for and cannot find begins to radiate from within you. The strength that seems impossible during trials becomes visible through the calmness of your spirit. The faith that you carry becomes contagious because it reveals the reality of the living God to a world that desperately needs hope. When you truly believe in one God, you no longer live by appearance, you live by revelation. Every action, every word, every step becomes a reflection of His character. Your life becomes a living message without you even speaking. The way you forgive when it is hard, the way you show kindness when others show anger, the way you keep believing when everything looks dark, all of it testifies that there is a God who lives inside you. You become a vessel of His love, a mirror of His mercy, and a demonstration of His grace. People begin to wonder how you can stay strong when life breaks you. And the answer lies not in your strength, but in the one who sustains you. The power of your faith doesn't come from what you do, it comes from who you belong to. When you believe in one God, you carry His presence everywhere you go. You don't need a title, a platform, or recognition for your life to make an impact. The presence of God within you becomes your greatest influence. When you walk into a place filled with tension, peace follows you. When you speak words of encouragement, hope rises. When you pray, things begin to change, not because of your power, but because of the one who hears you. You start to see life through spiritual eyes, understanding that every moment is an opportunity for God to reveal His goodness through you. Your life also becomes a testimony of power, because faith in one God brings divine authority. You begin to pray not as a beggar, but as a child of the King. You stop speaking from fear and start speaking from faith. The words that come out of your mouth carry weight because they are rooted in the truth of God's word. When you speak healing, chains of sickness can break. When you declare peace, storms can calm. When you speak blessing, closed doors can open. Believing in one God turns ordinary believers into extraordinary witnesses of His might. The beauty of this testimony is that it doesn't rely on perfection. God's power shines most brightly through broken people who are fully surrendered. Every scar, every struggle, every failure becomes a story of redemption. The moments when you thought you couldn't go on become the very proof that God was carrying you. The more you believe in His power, the more you allow Him to work through your weakness. People don't need to see a flawless life. They need to see faith that survives the fire. That is what touches hearts and draws souls closer to God. When you believe in one God, your attitude toward life changes completely. Gratitude becomes your language. You stop complaining about what you lack and start thanking Him for what He has given. Joy becomes your strength. Even in pain, you begin to see trials not as punishment, but as preparation for greater purpose. The presence of God inside you gives you stability that no external storm can destroy. You walk through life with a quiet confidence that does not come from pride, but from knowing who walks beside you. A life that believes in one God also influences generations. Your faith leaves footprints for others to follow. Children, friends, and even strangers watch how you live, and through your example, they begin to believe. Your consistency, humility, and peace become a silent sermon. When you stand firm in faith, others find courage to do the same. You may not always see the impact of your life, but every moment of trust, every act of love, every prayer whispered in faith becomes part of God's greater plan. Your life becomes a living altar, declaring to the world that there is one true God who saves, heals, provides, and transforms hearts forever.